Hi everyone. I wanted to record a video, and I'm hoping that this won't be terribly long, but long enough to provide what I hope will be a meaningful plan of attack before you begin taking the CIT 336 exam. One of the concepts that we really try to push in development is that you plan before you code. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means that before you actually get into writing anything specific, you want to look at things carefully. So step number one is in the exam document itself, there is a list of concepts that you should be familiar with. So before you write a single line of code, you want to sit down, open up your exam document, and read through this list of concepts and ask yourself, do I know what each one of these things are? So here are some specific questions that you may consult or ask yourself. Is there anything here that I don't recognize? If the answer is yes, open your book, go to the index, and see if it's listed there, and if it is, go take a look at whatever the book has to say about it. If the answer is still yes, then go to php.net. Remember, it is the authoritative site for everything PHP. And if those two things still don't answer your question, then ask a question on the collaboration board. The thing you want to be mindful of is that once the exam exists, you can't use forums nor the collaboration boards to answer questions about the exam other than clarifying questions about the exam itself. But you can't ask any coding questions. So you need to do it early. All right, then you should ask yourself, all right, now that I at least have an idea, could I code this thing? If the answer is yes, then excellent, you're right where you need to be. If the answer is no, then again, go back through previous code, look at examples in your book, look at examples on php.net, but find an example, look at it, and make sure that you understand how to write that code and what that code is doing. All right, so review and ask questions. The second item, and I hope that all of these are really obvious, is completely read through the practice exam that is provided in the study guide. And here are 4 questions that I think you probably ought to ask yourself. What are the tasks that I'm supposed to do in this exam? Secondly, is there a particular order that they have to be done in? Third, are there any special instructions that I have to pay particular attention to? And fourth, what is it that this thing is supposed to look like when I'm done? And those are meaningful questions. So let's address each one of these in turn. All right, so what are the tasks to be performed? So here's my suggestion. You get out a piece of paper and make a list. Right now, the order in which things happen doesn't matter. We're just making a list. Here are the things that I have to do. When you're done with your list, then compare it against the document and see if everything is there. If not, add it to the list. But start with making a list. Secondly, we're looking at order. So now we put ourselves in the position of being the computer. So we ask ourselves, where do things start? Where do they go from there? We're trying to be the computer, so we have to think of the logic of how things flow. So as you come up with this flow of where things start and how they progress, add numbers to your list next to each item so that you know in what order things have to happen. Once you're done, then you now have a plan. You can start building your application to do what you're asking it to do. Now, one of the things that I've discovered over the years as being a teacher is a lot of students, when they get to a particular item and they get stuck, they don't let go of it. They just keep working at that thing. And what happens is, even if they get it solved, they've used so much time that they don't have enough time to finish other things. So if you get stuck, skip it. move on to the next item that you do know how to do. And what this is called is low-hanging fruit, right? We do the easy things, the things that we know how to do first, then we come back and address the things that we have some struggles with. All right, third, are there any special instructions? So as we look through the document, if we find anything, we may add to our list, a little asterisk or a circle or something that knows that, oh, this thing has something particular that I need to pay attention to. And we refer back to those instructions and to our list regularly. All right, finally, what's the end result? Now, I know this sounds really strange, but each one of us has a little TV screen inside of our brains, right? We can envision how things are going to happen. That's one of the marvels of being a sentient being. So, as you read through the document, as you're looking at the practice exam and later on the real exam, kind of turn on that TV screen and watch it play through in your head. So if you can see it in your head, chances are pretty good that you can actually build it. Okay, so with all of that having been said, test often. I can't stress this enough. Don't wait to the end to test, because if you do that, you have a whole bunch of territory that could possibly throw an error. But if you build and test and do it incrementally, you'll catch errors much, much quicker and have far less work to do when you are trying to test. Okay, so let's do an example here. Now, again, I'm practicing here on the practice exam itself. So the assumption is that you've read all of the directions and you have found yourself looking at this illustration in the practice exam. Okay, so take just a minute, kind of look through there and do all of the other stuff that I've just mentioned to you. All right? Great. I'm going to assume that you've done that now. Okay, so what are the tasks? So here's my recommendation. Pull out a piece of paper and start making your list. Pause this video while you're doing it. When you're done with your list, then go ahead and restart the video and then compare your list to my list. So here comes my list. All right, I know, having read the directions, that I need a view because I was just looking at a picture of a view. I know that I'm going to need a controller because I'm being required to use a model view control approach. I know I'm going to need a model. Wait a second, I'm going to talk to the database, I know I've got to have a database connection. I know that if I want to get all of that information to appear in the model, I'm going to have a function in the model that will get the data out of the database. I noticed at the bottom of the screen there was a link for adding a course. Oh, gee, okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm going to have another view so that I can put the course information in. I'm going to need something in the controller that says, oh, deliver this view back to the browser so the person can do it. When I'm done filling out the form with the new course information and I submit it, there's going to have to be a function in the model to add it to the database. And then I'm going to need some way of telling the browser what happened as I tried to add this new course to the database. Oh, boy, that's an awful lot of stuff just based on that link. Wait a second. There's also an edit button next to each one of those items. Okay, so I'm going to need something in the controller that knows that, hey, I've asked for an edit to happen. I'm going to need a way to get the information for that particular course out of the database. Well, that's going to mean a function. I'm going to need a way to display the information for that course in a view. Oh, that's probably a new view. I'm going to need something in the controller to know when I've actually updated the information and have submitted it back. I'm going to need a function in the model in order to actually update the information. Holy cow, I'm also going to need a way to show the browser that the update worked or didn't work so that they know what happened. Oh, this is getting complicated. Oh, wait a second. There's a delete button too. Oh, criminy sakes. I'm going to need something in the controller that knows that I've clicked the delete button. I'm going to need a function in order to delete the information. Oh, and that's going to be in the model. and I'm going to need a way of telling the browser that the delete worked. Oh, well, there's my list. Oh my goodness, that's a long list. All right, so I've got my list, now what? So next I would say, well, in what order they can be done? Well, I know that I'm going to need a controller, and the controller is in charge of everything. So yeah, that's probably going to be first. I'm going to need to get the data, and I'm going to need functions to do that, and they're all going to be in the model, so maybe building the model is going to be second. I'm going to need a view to display the data, and not just the first piece of data, but lots of pieces of data, so that's third. Oh, but wait a second. Functions and models can't work without a database connection, so maybe that needs to be next and the model will become third. All right, so now I'm talking to myself at this point. I know I'll build the controller, then I'll make the database connection, then I'll create the model and write the function in the model to get the data. Wow, that's pretty straightforward. I think I can do that. And then I can actually call the function, and if it works, it should give me back an array of data. I could use the print R function just to see if I got some data back. I'm not actually going to use it in my real view, but I can test it to see if I actually got data back. And if so, I know I've got it to that point, and I can actually build the real live view to display the data in that little table that I saw back there in the exam. And that's the way we do it. We follow an order that makes sense to us. All right, were there any special instructions in this document that I saw? Oh, wait, yes, there was. There was this little thing that said, making forms sticky. That seems to be special. So I might ask myself, well, do I know how to make sticky forms? Well, wait a second. In the document, there's some directions on how to do it. Oh, okay, I could refer to those documents. Then I might say, well, what forms need to be sticky? And if the document answers that, well, then I know. But if I'm not sure, I could ask someone else. Do you know what forms need to be sticky? And again, if there's still some unclarity out there, then I can refer to previous uses of sticky forms. And wait a second, there was a video on making forms sticky. I could refer to that. And then finally, how does this thing work? What's it going to look like? And you know, the more I think about this and the more I look at it, this almost sounds like the enhancement for Chapter 5. I could go back and refer to its code because it uses a model, it uses a view, it uses a controller, it lets me edit, it lets me delete, it lets me add. Holy cramoly, this is going to be simple stuff. But I can see it in my mind because I've already done something very similar to this in the past. All right, so here's the end of this little quick video talking about how to attack the exam. The point and the concept that I want you to understand is that taking an exam, building an application, coding a product is very much like an iceberg. Most of it is not seen. It's behind the scenes. It's the planning and preparation. So just like this picture of an iceberg that you're looking at, the planning and preparation and making sure that you understand what is being required and how to do it, that's all the part that's underwater. We then build it, and what the end person sees is just that little piece that's above the water. That's the actual application at work. And while that may seem like it's kind of upside down, you know, that's just the way it is. So I hope that this will be beneficial to you as you think about not only the practice exam, but also the actual exam. We follow this same process. So good luck to you. I hope this will be beneficial to you. And I wish you the very best in your practices for the exam, your actual taking of the exam as well. So bye-bye for now.